他们休息一会儿了。三驾马车，加油！好，那边排。
Welcome back to the Maple Dragon Podcast with Mark Robson in Yantai, China. Now, Yantai, I've been here, I think it's about 2 months now, and it was about, I guess 10 days ago or so, I went on my first cycling trip. I love to cycle. I've cycled when I was in Nanjing and also Jinan, so I can't wait to explore the Yantai area. And so I've been playing around with that. I haven't bought a bicycle yet, so that's what led me to the giant bicycle shop a couple of weeks ago, where I came across these folks, of course, who are trying to sell me a bicycle, but who also, we traded WeChat IDs, and one of them later sent me a message about going on a little cycling trip, that he was a member of a cycling club, a local cycling club, and they were going to do it turned out to be the last trip of the season. And so this was just at the end of October. And and it was to a place called Yangma Island, which is along the coast from Yantai. So Yantai, at least where I am in Yantai at the university, is very hilly. There's just hills everywhere, and so you actually hardly see any bicycles at all. It's all e-bikes. The students don't want to use bicycles. It's too exhausting because everything is a hill. But of course, down by the seaside, it's nice and flat. And so these guys, so I got a message to could I come and join them, basically depart at something like 6 in the morning from the university and cycle alone for 10 kilometers in the darkness through this alien city that I'd cycled in once before and got totally lost. So their first message to me didn't go over too well. I just said, well, can someone meet me? Because I'm afraid of getting lost. Because they have all sorts of kind of bike, not just bike lanes, they actually have bike almost roundabouts that parallel the highway in spots. So you get these sort of figure eights above you, and you're below, and they're kind of figure eight bicycle paths below, and you get just lost in the maze of freeways, like which way do you go? And so anyway, I was able to convince someone to come and meet me at the university. So he did at 6 in the morning at the gate of the campus I'm at, the North Campus, East Gate of Ludong University. And then we cycled together. It was about, 10 kilometers basically to another university to meet the rest of the group. We picked up 1 or 2 members on the way before we got to Yantai University, but in the end it was only about 5 of us, I guess, and so we're basically hugging the coast, cycling along the coast, heading to Yangma Island, which seemed to be the one place to go here that everyone was going. So we had left at 6 in the morning. I'm not sure what time we got to Yantai University, like maybe an hour later or something. And so we were cycling along, heading to Yangma Island, and we'd see cyclists on the other side of the road heading the opposite direction. But everyone seemed to know everyone. We waved to them, and I assumed they were coming back from Yangma Island themselves, because it seemed to be the one place to go, because it's a tourist kind of island, and it's said that an emperor from the Qing dynasty, something like 300 or 400 years ago, used to keep horses on this island. And so Ma means horse, And so anyway, yeah, so the island was different. It took us a little while to get there, and it wasn't that interesting. It was just like a fairly busy 2 lanes each way, I think, to the to Yangma Island. We had to cross a bridge, and then we just cycled around the edge of the island. And we met all sorts of cyclists on the way. It was actually right at the entrance of the island that we stopped, and other cyclists caught up to us, other people we met there, and you had a whole range of bikes, some pretty high-end bikes to pretty average bikes. And the group I was with was mainly women, and I was wondering why it was mainly women. I was actually surprised. And what I was told is that they can't keep up to the men. The men go too fast. And I was already finding it pretty fast myself. I was probably the oldest guy there. And because it was, for someone departing from Yantai University, where we're meeting, it was a 70-kilometer round trip. But because I was doing another 10 kilometers each way, I was actually the oldest guy with the heaviest bike, was doing 90 kilometers. So, yeah, and that was just all in a morning. It's not even the whole day, because they're going at a pretty good clip most of the time. So it was really a morning trip, and I was back by noon, I think it was, something like that. So in terms of landscape, I'm not even 100% sure what part of Yantai I'm in. I'm not right by the sea. It's in the hills, inland, slightly, but I can see, from high points, like if I walk up behind my apartment, like I'm on the side of a hill, basically, and I can keep walking up the hill, and in no time at all, I can get a pretty nice view of a lot of the city. I'm not exactly sure how much. It's pretty spread out. But it is hills everywhere. I mean, there's substantial hills. They're not mountains, but tree-covered hills. And so where I am, we're at the north campus of, Ludong University. And it's just pure hills. I mean, I'm surrounded by hills. You can't go anywhere. Every night when I walk back from class or the cafeteria, I'm going uphill. So you're kind of reminded, you're tired and you're coming home, and so the students, virtually no one, very few bicycles. I don't know, you could probably count on one or maybe two, both hands, the number of bicycles. They actually use e-bikes, and you can rent them on campus. So you can use your card, your ID card, and just rent them, and people will take their e-bike from one class to the next. It's that hilly, like you do it for your classes. These are just sort of low-end, cheap kind of e-bikes. But us foreigners, I don't think we can use them because we don't have the national identity card. So anyway, it's like all hills, and there's bits of city in between the hills and pockets. And, if I climb up behind me here to the top of the hill and look the direction, towards my apartment, in the distance, I can see the ocean and I can see the city center. I'm pretty much, I think I'm fairly central to Yantai. So I'm in the main older area. It's the older part of Yantai, but, the most settled. There is a newer area, and if you go to those areas, you notice it right away. Brand new roads, so that's kind of what we were cycling on, right by the ocean there. And I would say it was maybe 2 lanes of traffic each direction. So kind of almost like a highway, but in China, they actually drive quite slowly everywhere. You never really see them hit 100 kilometers an hour even. Like, this was open just along just a access road along near the shore, not right on the shore, but and beautiful bike paths, tree-lined bike paths right to the side. So you can choose to go on the road, and the roads usually have a wide shoulder. Like I think that's what I could almost say about Yantai. I haven't been around it enough yet, but I really get a sense it's extremely bike friendly. Like there is lots of bike lanes and pathways, especially when you get underneath the figure-8 highways like that are above you. And that's where the faster traffic is. If you're on a e-bike or something, you can go under those, and you've got your own little trails that go under the figure-8 sections. But it's just like, it's confusing. I mean, that's how I got lost, because I didn't know which one to take. Because you're going under the roads and under bridges and stuff like this, and it's weaving all over the place. And it's just for cyclists and e-bikes. Like some cars went there, but it's not designed for them. It's supposed to be for bicycles. And so same thing, going along the coast, you've got like 2 lanes each way. They're going, I don't know, 50, 60 kilometers an hour, I'm guessing. But, they don't go that fast. They're always on the lookout for you. I mean, you have to notice. I do notice with traffic, I have to pick up on that. When you're crossing an intersection and there isn't a light, it seems, I'm just remembering, cycling along this main throughway, and so you've got a smaller road joining on the right-hand side. So I'm cycling along, and I see a vehicle coming up to the edge of the thoroughway that I'm on, and I'm thinking, as a Canadian, like I would have the right of way normally. I could just keep going straight. But no, it doesn't seem so in China. I don't know the exact rules, but they just suddenly will pull in, turn right. So they're coming from my right, perpendicular to the busy road I'm on, and I have to wait for them to finish turning right onto the busy road in front of me, going in the same direction, instead of assuming they're just going to stop and wait for me to cycle by them, and then they'll turn. So you do have to look out for that. But I mean, they're going slowly enough. You never feel scared at all. And it's a laid back town anyway. Like, it's just not, no one's in a big rush. And then if there's already the side of they almost seem to leave a whole lane for bicycles. Like many roads I find, we're kind of taking up a whole lane, a right-hand lane, and no one's trying to crowd us out. They're just like, the next lane's over. And it's just not that busy, I think. They've got way more roads than they need here, like way more than is needed to carry the traffic that you see. So it seems like there's a whole lane on the right that's kind of for e-bikes and cyclists, and there's also a bike trail over to the right of that, basically up on a sidewalk, and it's tree lined, and it's got the latest in pavement. I mean, it's beautiful, and it's tree lined all the way. And so you can choose. Do you want to cycle on the lane on the right-hand side of the road where traffic never really bothers you? You just have to watch intersections. Or you can choose to cycle on the trail, the tree-lined trail right beside you, like a little bike path. I mean, there's people walking there too, but where we were, it was pretty much a car-dominated area. I mean, there's buses that go along there, but there weren't that many people sitting at bus stops, because it was just like one long kind of park, I guess is what it was. And so that's what we did. We would just cycle along. We constantly running into cyclists going back on the other side of the road, or we might pass a group on our side. So we did this quite a stretch. That was most of the way along the sea, and so it's pretty flat there, And yeah, I was trying to think. I don't know if you really see a hill coming down to the ocean's edge. I don't recall seeing that. It's not like that. It's quite flat just by the ocean. And the hills were kind of to my right, inland. I mean, it's all sorts of hills to the right. And then you can see the island. You see this big bay. And you hit different sections of the city. Like, it's really spread out. You think, it's hard to know. I'm still not sure how close I was to the edge of the city. There's just like, you turn another corner and you see a whole other kind of city center. So like, it's fairly substantially spread out, it seems, and in the hills interspersed. So it's hard to really get a view of the whole city. I don't know if it's possible, because it's so spread out and there's so many hills. You got to be at the biggest hill. I've been to some of the biggest ones around the university, and I've seen a fair bit. But you can. The city is within view as far as the eye can see so far from the highest hills I've climbed and viewed the city from. And so anyway, you could see a big bay opening up and then a big bridge over to the island. So it was really clear that that's the bridge we're going to take. And the bridge wasn't a big deal. I mean, in general, there's just not that much traffic. And the traffic that's there, they never go that fast. They're definitely looking out for you all the time. You feel completely safe. So yeah, and loads of room on the road and to the right, and they do honk when they come up. So the Chinese, that's where it's different from North America, at least Canada. If someone honks in a car, it usually means they're upset, and they're communicating their anger to you. But not in China. I mean, at first it catches you off guard. You think assume they're upset, but it's just like a warning honk. That's really what it is. If you hear a honk, it's all like, I'm coming up behind you. Please notice that I'm here, and don't do anything dangerous. There's huge focus on safety in China. Everything is about safety. You can't believe it. I mean, you could say, we coddle in North America, but not near as much as in China. I mean, I hear from my students too, and, I was talking about some of the winter sports, and their first reaction, almost everything I say, but that's dangerous. And I go, yeah, well, that's what makes it fun, and like, these are like 20-year-olds telling me, the 60-year-old guy, that something is dangerous, and that's why they haven't done it. So so there's a huge focus on safety, so you don't have to worry about any getting hurt. Everyone's kind of looking out for you and so on. And so we'd stop and we took all sorts of pictures, and there was only there weren't many people who were speaking English, and in the end, I didn't mention that I was invited because there was a woman who wanted to improve her English, and so she wanted me there to help her, to try and talk with her, and so I did. But I ended up meeting the one I ended up talking the most to was a Uyghur girl, and her English was actually quite good. And of course, the Uyghurs, and the recent video that I did, or podcast a few weeks ago, made it really interesting to meet her. So I knew a lot about the Uyghur issue, obviously, and so I just started chatting with her right away, just naturally, because her English was so good. And I just asked her, where are you from, and so on. Then she told me she was from Xinjiang, And I said, really? I said, are you actually a Uyghur? And she said, yeah. And then I said, are you a Muslim? And she said, yeah. And so soon after that sort of interaction, this was early on in the trip, soon after Yantai University, and she said, the other people we're cycling with don't even know this yet. Because she was a fairly new member. She'd only been there a couple months. She's been in Yantai. So I knew before these people she'd cycled with where she was from, that she was Muslim and Uyghur and so on. So I thought that was kind of interesting that she hadn't told them. And I wasn't sure if that's just something you don't talk about or whatnot. She'd been on a couple trips with them to the same place. And anyway, I tried to get into the issue a bit, just about, I guess some of the things that have, we've heard about supposedly happen in Xinjiang. And all she says is, oh, we don't talk about that. It's just, just don't talk about it. It's, and my guess is it's an uncomfortable issue. It was challenging and so on. Trying to reduce terrorism in the area, and now it's much better, I believe, or the sense I got. And she moved from Xinjiang a few years earlier, is what I recall, but she went to Beijing, and she was actually responsible for some international research, medical research, coordinating research, people involved in research studies to do with medical, I'm not sure, medicines or what. It sounded like she kind of managed the different groups of people that were being studied around the world. So she was coordinating this. It sounded quite like a high-powered job. But she was in Beijing, and she said she was working 14 hours a day, and I think it was 6 days a week. And she said it was just brutal, and she just couldn't take it anymore. And so she just turned to her boss and just said, I can't do this anymore. Is there a place that I can transfer to, like out of the city? I think Beijing is just, hardcore work ethic. So she just wanted to get out of the city and to move, I think, to a branch. Yeah, it must be a branch of the same company. And so she's given two choices, one in the south in Guangzhou, which is right in the south near Hong Kong, very kind of subtropical, humid, totally different from Xinjiang. So she was used to the cold. And the other option was Yantai, so she chose Yantai, and she'd only been here for a couple of months, but she said immediate change. Like she's doing the same kind of work, she's in a much slower paced city, and she's only working 8 hours a day now, like 6 hours less, and she's getting paid more and doing the same job, which she enjoys. And so it just sounds like win-win-win all around.
Let's go.
Cycling back, the woman who had invited me along to learn English, she was just asking if I was hungry, and I said, yeah, I was. And she said she knew some restaurant. And so we pulled off early, I guess, way before we got to Yantai University, and we followed her, but in the end it seemed that the restaurant she was thinking of had moved or something, and so she couldn't find it in the end. So I think the whole point was, because I said I was hungry, she was gonna go buy breakfast for everyone at this place, and and I didn't fully understand what was going on, but if this was normal or that they went for breakfast or what. But we pulled off, and what I do remember, we went in front of this big hotel, and cycling along, and then suddenly see this wedding, these vehicles. And what were they? Oh God, a super high-end car. I'm trying to remember the name of it. It starts with B. What the heck is a B? But there was like 6 of them, and these are cars. I think they're worth like $200,000 or $300,000, and there was 6 of them, black Bentleys. That's what they were. There's like 6 black Bentleys, all decked up in flowers for this wedding. And I'm going, holy smokes, like, I've never seen that many in my life. Again, in a communist country, the wealth you see here is unbelievable. Not even in a big time city. And so 6 Bentleys. And so I thought, oh, I got to get a picture of this. And you don't see it too often. I haven't seen a lot of decked out, like a Westerner would deck out a car with flowers. And so I did get to the first Bentley, and I went to take a picture, but it started moving. But the girl getting married, the bride, she rolled down the window and said hi to me anyway. But they just pulled away, and I'm just going, oh my gosh, like I'm in like some low-level Chinese city, I don't know, tier 4 or something, that looks kind of run down in places, and here 6 Bentleys, black Bentleys, and I've never seen so many Bentleys in one place in my life. And I'm in communist China. And anyway, that was just something. I got a picture of some of the Bentleys anyway. But yeah, just a reminder of the wealth that some people have here. Incredible. So yeah, and so cycling back, I'm trying to think along the coast there. Again, it's flat, hilly inland. And you see fishing boat, when we look out to the sea, you see fishing boats, people fishing, a fair amount of fishing. And when the tide's out, it's very popular to collect shellfish. It seems like the whole city is out gathering shellfish. So this is the seafood city of China, and so people are used to seafood and picking their own, and so yeah, wherever you see low tide, there's lots of people out collecting different types. One of them is a razor shell, I found out it's called, an elongated shellfish that digs a little hole. And so you look for the little breathing holes and you start digging it up with a shovel. I watch carefully how they do this. You get a little shovel and bend over and start digging right where the hole is. And you dig down till you see, it's almost like the foot, like a clam. It's sticking out of the shell up for air, or I'm not sure what. But what they do, I watched a woman do it. She had a whole bag of salt, and she would sprinkle the salt like right on the shellfish, on this sort of foot of the shellfish that was sticking up. And so this seems to, and they're sitting in a little hole. So you dump the salt there, the whole hole, which is all watery, filled with water. It's just a narrow little hole. Suddenly gets super salty. And so then the razor shell shellfish, it tries to escape almost, it seems. Like it puts like this big foot out, like this flesh shoots out of the top of the shell. And then that's when you grab it and put it in your bucket. So by just sprinkling the salt on them. So yeah, so pretty cool to watch them do this. This woman had it down to an art, collecting these shellfish. So you see that everywhere, and so you have to assume the water's okay. It looks okay. It actually looks pretty clear in many places. But yeah, definitely low tide. There's always quite a few people out there. It's also a popular activity for the students to just hang out. the tidal pools, wander around and check it out. So in the end, we had our breakfast, and then she headed off home, and so did several others. And then I was left with the guy who'd picked me up, and so we had to cycle the next 10 kilometers, the most exhausting 10 kilometers, back to the university and go up a giant hill and so on. So he took me right to the gate, so which was really good of him. I mean, he was a young guy, it's probably nothing for him anyway, but I was exhausted. I wasn't sure if I could move much after that. So yeah, it was a really nice day, nice introduction. Everyone was really friendly like they always are. I mean, it's just the same. All the different places I've been in China, they made a fuss of me, like even the cyclists coming up. They wanted pictures with me. We did big group pictures, one-on-one pictures, and people trying to talk to me in their limited English, or just trying to find out more about me. So yeah, it was just the same as what I'm used to in China, just like treated really well, and yeah, totally welcome. And yeah, but I think I was the oldest guy there. Most of the people were having no problem cruising at, I don't know, 25, 30 kilometers an hour, I guess. And they had pretty fancy bikes too. So there was multiple bike clubs, and some of it might be based on the bike shops. Like a lot of the people I was with had giant bikes, but there was a whole other group that had trek bikes, some pretty nice bikes. So anyway, it turned out that was literally the last trip of the season, and sure enough, just the past 10 days since, it just really dropped off. I think even it started the very next day after cycling. Yeah, pretty sure it was almost the next day. It just dropped off. We just had snow yesterday. It didn't stay on the ground overnight. And that's normal for this province. It's just wet snow. But what I do hear is Yantai gets a lot of snow. I've just started to hear that. So, and I noticed today they put out these big, because it's hills, the whole campus is just a hill on the side of a hill. They put out big boxes of sand at the side of the road in anticipation of the next snowfalls that are coming. So, yeah. So it was a beautiful warm day, and I think that's the last time we had a nice warm day. Today was a little bit better, but no, we just had snow. So anyway, it was a good introduction to Yantai. Cycling, what I really want to get into is the hills. I want to get into more of an agricultural area. Along the seaside just doesn't do it for me so much. I mean, there's a lot of traffic there. It's pretty busy. You're by the ocean, and there are some, because it's hilly territory, you do see hills, coming down to the water's edge, but not that much actually. It's fairly flat, I guess. But yeah, just busy with traffic. So I'm looking for more rural kind of experience, I think, is what I would really like to have before I really commit to buying a good bike. So anyway, I think the season now starts up in maybe March, I'm guessing. When it starts getting warm enough again for cycling.